Welcome to a City of Heroes Homecoming Beginner's Guide. With the new influx of people joining City of Heroes Homecoming, I decided to create a guide to steer people in the right direction and give some handy quality of life tips as well. There are a total of 5 servers. 4 are based in Canada and 1 is based in Germany. Each server kind of has its own thing, which goes as follows. Excelsior, which is the highest populated server and has a healthy mix of people from all over. Indomitable, the unofficial PvP server. Torchbearer, like Excelsior, just a lower population. Reunion, the European server. Everlasting, the unofficial RP server. After choosing a server, you'll be faced with a few options. First is your starting world. I would highly recommend that you pick City of Heroes Freedom, which is considered the standard game, either a hero or a villain. The second option, the Going Rogue, is an alternate dimension of Earth called Praetora, and I won't be covering that in this guide. The second choice will be your character's origin and how they receive their power. This does not really affect the game that much, it's really just flavour for your character. Next will be your archetype. There are 14 to choose from, although I'd avoid the Arachnos Soldier, the Arachnos Widow, Peacebringer and Warshade, as they're a bit more complicated than the others. Now for your powers. There are numerous combos to try out, and with 1,000 character slots per server, don't be afraid to just go with whatever suits your character or what sounds fun. Finally, it's time to create how your character looks. With so much customization available, you can make 100 variants of the same costume or actually make unique ones. You can also change the colour and sometimes animation of your powers. Then after that, finally choosing a name, battle cry and background for your character. So you're about to enter the game and it asks you if you'd like to play the tutorial, and I would advise yes and clicking the Galaxy City option, as this gives you a cool 5-page comic book to read, teaches you a lot of the basics of combat and introduces a few characters as well. Now you're finally in game, you can edit your UI by simply left clicking on any window and dragging it about. There is a small blue icon on most UI elements. Click that to detach or attach. For an example, you can click on your map on the nav window at the top of your screen, then click the blue circle on the bottom left corner of your map window to then detach it, and then you can drag it about. I usually use it for a mini map and throw it in the top corner. To expand your action bars, click the up arrow on the top right corner of your power tray. You can also create a separate action bar by clicking the little plus arrow at the top right corner of your power tray. Then right click on the action bar you just created to assign its button layout. Then simply drag it to where you want. Look at your health bar and click on the menu. Then options, then the Windows tab. At the top you will see automatic UI scale. Click enable. Now you can resize your UI to suit your preferences with the slider named UI scale. Below that you can change the colour of your UI by adjusting the red, blue and green sliders and the window opacity as well as the cursor scale. Scroll down to powers, find power recharge indicators, change that to top. This shows how many seconds each power has on its cooldown on your power bar. At the very bottom of the Windows tab you can edit the colour of your chat bubbles, backgrounds and text colour. Now your UI is set, continue through the tutorial. After killing a few enemies you'll be faced with either picking hero or villain. I suggest picking hero as 80% of the server will be that alignment, and you can always change later if you like. Upon completing the tutorial, assuming you went hero, you'll be sent to Atlas Park. I'd suggest talking to your first contact, Matthew Habashi. Contacts provide players with random missions or a story arc to complete. Work through his missions as well as the missions from the other contacts you will be introduced to later. Aaron Fiery being the last contact for the starting story arc of Atlas Park, and it's a good introduction to the game. There is also a trial you can do at any level called Death from Below, normally abbreviated to DFB. This is an 8-man trial split into 4 separate maps, fighting through different enemy types, the first being Hellions, the second being Valzilok, the third being Lost, and finally 2 giant Hydra archvillains. Avoid the slime and bubbling puddles, it's fun, you can play with others. At level 3 you unlock the pool power sets. These are universal powers that all archetypes share, offering a wide array of playstyles, some of which are referred to as travel powers. Fly, super speed, super jump and teleport are the main 4, although there are a few more, notably one of my favourites is Mystic Flight, which has a mix of flight and teleport. Combat jumping is one I would highly recommend. I always get on nearly every character. It costs very little endurance. You can use it to add certain defensive IO enhancements, which I'll go into further detail on in part 5 of this guide. Combat jumping also makes flying more controlled, which is handy when manoeuvring in tight spaces or around objects. You could go for hover instead of combat jumping, as they kind of serve the same purpose, so it's down to preference at the end of the day. The fighting power pool is also one I would highly recommend. After choosing one of the first 2 powers in that tree, you get Tough, which increases your smashing and lethal resistance, and Weave, which just increases your overall defense. I've covered the main ones I wanted to, but there are many good powers in there, and it all depends on your build and playstyle, so just have a look through and try different things out. At level 35 you unlock the epic power sets. These abilities are determined by your archetype and offer a wide array of powers, mainly to fill in any cracks or weaknesses you might have on your current archetype. 4 of these epic power sets are locked behind one of 4 mission arcs in Granville, but you only need to complete one and a portion of that to gain them. These are Leviathan Mastery, Mace Mastery, Moo Mastery and Soul Mastery, known as the Patron Power Pools. To do these you must either be a rogue or villain to acquire the missions by talking to Arbiter Rain, or you can complete them as a vigilante in a group with villains and rogues. To change alignment, visit Null the Gull in Pocket D. He's a seagull on top of the truck near the red side or villain side of the nightclub. The 3 main pay-to-win ladies are located at Mercy Isle, Pocket D and Atlas Park. So some of the things I will talk about you won't be able to afford as a fresh character, although I will still explain the main things you want to get now or work towards for the future. As a fresh character, the first thing I normally do is click on the pay to win lady, then go to the prestige enhancements and grab all 5, they're completely free. Next, go on prestige powers and then click on the attack tab and grab one of the 4 following attacks: Sands of Mu, Undead Slaying Axe, Nemesis Staff or Black Wand. If you have the right origin, if you read the description, you do get a minor bonus for having the correct origin, so it might be a good shout to get that. Next, click on the utility tab. Grab the inner inspiration power, it's free, and every 30 minutes you get free, medium or sometimes large inspirations. And if you don't know, inspirations kind of work like potions in City of Heroes. They give buffs, damage buffs, hit buffs, defensive buffs, health and endurance back and whatnot. The next 2, Mystic Fortune, which buffs party members, and Secondary Mutation, which buffs yourself with random buffs like recharge or defense bonus. I'd wait till you've got some levels under your belt, and then just buy them later for 500,000 each. There is a very small chance that when you use Secondary Mutation, you will turn into a Ricty Monkey. There are 2 self-reses for 1 mil each. You can get these later when you start earning some influence, but they're very handy. And you can actually get them for free if you die enough and get enough debt. Last on the utility side is Reveal. It's only 10,000 and reveals the map of your current location. That includes maps and instances. So now for the travel tab. For 1 million there are 3 really good fly powers. On movement a choice of some free sprint abilities, which I normally grab Athletic Run, as it has a jump bonus as well. Now for the real quality of life travel powers. First, assemble the team, which does as it says. It teleports all the team to your location. Base transporter, which teleports you to your supergroup or a supergroup you have the macro for, which I will provide 2 macros to some of my bases in the description of this video below. Most bases like mine have portals to pretty much all locations in the base and have other handy utilities. Mission transporter, which teleports you to the current active mission. And finally team transporter, which unlike the other 3 that cost 1 million each, this one costs 10 million and maybe something you look at the future when maybe you hit 50. But it basically summons a plane that will spawn on the location you pick. That will then proc a teleport for all party members nearby to the nearest active mission, or to the active mission. It does sit there for like 2 mins, so if you miss the first teleport, just wait a while. I think it procs like every 10 seconds. Okay, now we're going into the temporary powers. Firstly, go to buffs, scroll down to the bottom. Here you get either 25, 50 or 100% XP increase, but this also comes with the same amount of percent but minus influence increase. So if you got 100% XP increase buff, you would get 0 influence from killing mobs, but you can still get merits, recipes and salvage to sell to make influence. The buff also stacks up to 8 times for 8 hours, so keep clicking it till you can't click anymore. Now on the combat tab, there are 3 handy powers you can get, mostly being the Resurrector, which means you can res your teammates, second the med pack, which you heal yourself with, and recovery serum, which can help if you're having end issues while leveling. I didn't really have the time to go through everything, but I think I mentioned what I'd call the basics. First, click on the enhancement menu at the top of your power tray. Then click manage on the enhancement tray. Now drag an enhancement to the desired slot. Powers can only be enhanced to a certain amount until it starts to do very little, so be careful. There are many types of enhancements. I will only be covering 2 in this guide, which are attuned IOs and crafted IOs. The advantage of attuned versions is that you'll keep set bonus when you exemplar down unless you exemplar more than 3 levels below the minimum level of your set. The advantage of the level 50 version is that you can use enhancement boosters to increase the effectiveness of the enhancement by up to 25%. I will go over a brief rundown of some info on certain enhancements. If this section seems like a lot, just skip and go to part 6. For managing endurance, I will quickly go over some useful enhancements. First is Performance Shifter, chance for plus endurance proc. Slot this under fitness in stamina. Then a Panacea, chance for HP and endurance. Slot this in health. These both will give you a passive proc of stamina and HP. Depending on how hungry for endurance your build is, that might not be enough. So next we're going to add another slot to health, that being Miracle Recovery, which gives you a 15% recovery. If you still need more, you can add another slot to your endurance, adding the Performance Shifter endurance modification, and then plus 5 that with boosters. If you still need a little bit more, you can add another slot to health, or any other passive regen, health regen ability, and add a Numinia's Convalescence, Regeneration and Recovery, which gives you a 20% regen and 10% recovery. For travel powers, if I don't have any toggles that give me resistance to knockdown, I will slot a Blessing of the Zephyr, knockback reduction, 4 points, which is always active even if you're not using the travel power. Now for resistance, on every character I would have at least these 2 slotted, normally on the power tough in the fighting tree. They are Steadfast Protection, resistance / defense giving +3 to all defense. The second is Gladiator's Armor, teleportation protection and plus defense, giving another +3 toward defense. Next is the essential defense slots I use. Normally I will have 3 slots open on combat jumping or hover, then slot a Kismet plus to hit, which is a 6% hit increase. The second slot I will put a shield wall, teleportation protection plus resistance, which gives a +5 to all damage types. And then in the last slot, the third slot, I will put a Luck of the Gambler, defense/global recharge, which gives +7.5% global recharge, so it has all cooldowns. Now on Weave, I would at least place another Luck of the Gambler recharge for a 7.5% global recharge increase, and a reactive defense scaling damage resistance, which gives nothing at full health, but increases as your health goes down for a maximum of 10% damage resistance to all damage types. Each archetype has 2 different sets. These sets consist of 6 different slots. They are very good sets normally, and I'll probably have them on pretty much every character. Some have really good chance procs, like the Stalker, which has a 5% chance when dealing any damage to reset your build up, and that has no cap on the proc per minute. You can only have 5 of the same type of set bonus. For example, if 6 different sets all had +10 regeneration bonus, the 6 set bonus would not apply. Similar to if you had 6 Luck of the Gambler plus 7.5% recharge slotted, the 6 wouldn't apply. Last thing I wanted to mention was adding Gaussian synchronized fire control, chance for build up. Slot this on aim or build up or any type of ability like that, and it gives you a very high chance to get another 68% damage increase, 13% hit and 78% healing bonus for 8 seconds. Nearly every zone or player base will have a merit vendor. Here you can buy all sorts of stuff. An easy way to earn influence as a new player is to spend your merits on enhancement boosters, which cost 5 merits per booster for about an average of 1 million. Other salvage you will find on your travels or doing missions are rare invention salvage, which go for around 300 to 400,000. You will also find recipes that vary greatly in price. To access the marketplace, you must be outside any instance and type /AH. Here you can sell your boosters, salvage and recipes. You can buy enhancements, inspirations and all other kind of things. And one final thing, I'll just briefly mention the weekly strike targets, which are task forces, strike forces or trials that give double merits. If you click on the LFG at the top of your chat box, check the ones that are highlighted in pink. They're always the ones that are the weekly strike targets. Click on the task force you intend to do, then at the bottom right click on lock the event for your group, then click queue and it will teleport you to the contact. Preferably do this solo so you can get there nice and quick, then ask for an invite. That's all for this guide. Hope you found it useful, and if you did, please consider hitting that like, subscribe, and I'll see you around.